Once upon a time, Toyotas were the most reliable cars on the road. Whether you were driving your work truck a million miles or you were staging a coup, Toyota was the go-to. But lately, Toyotas have been in the news for all the wrong reasons. Engine failures in the Tundra and GR86, transmission and axle failures in the Tacoma, inexplicable engine fires in the GR Corolla, and even brake problems for the humble Corolla Cross. So what changed? Is there something bad in the water at Toyota these days? Or is it all being blown out of proportion by people looking for clicks and attention? Today, we're going to explain exactly what's going on with Toyota's reliability. To start off, I should point out that the number of recalls, or even the number of vehicles recalled, is not a truly accurate gauge for reliability. For example, Toyota had to recall 30,000 vehicles this summer for the catastrophic, life-threatening issue of a misprinted sticker on the door sill listing the wrong load-carrying capacity. True NHTSA recalls span everything from these tiny technicalities to wheels falling off to full-on engine failures. Then there are technical service bulletins, or TSBs, which are kind of like an internal soft recall by automakers. They're issued to dealers when a car company sees a non-safety critical problem bubbling up and they contain specific instructions for fixing it. Thing is, automakers and dealers don't announce TSBs. They're required by law to make them public on the NHTSA's website, but they're going to wait until you come into the dealer with that specific issue to address it. The fix is often free, but not always. Finally, I'm going to try and separate the question of reliability with another very public issue Toyota has faced, and that's how both it and its dealers have responded to some warranty claims. Take the GR86, which has a problem with oil starvation causing engine failures. I'll explain that in a bit. The point here is that Toyota has sold 9,643 GR86s this year, which is about 0.7% of its total sales. But because it's repeatedly denied warranty claims for new engines by blaming owners for driving their sports cars too hard, that's become an outsized public battle. One that we ourselves have covered, because come on, really guys? Okay, got all that? Now we can get into it. In May of this year, Toyota issued a recall for 102,000 Tundra pickups and Lexus LX SUVs, which swapped a tried-and-true V8 engine for a twin-turbo V6 when the new generation models launched in 2022. After over 800 warranty claims involving total engine failure, Toyota realized that machining issues at the factory left behind metal debris that was getting stuck in critical places like oil passages and bearings. Since the only possible fix involved taking the entire thing apart, Toyota now has to give over 100,000 people brand new engines. You have to admit, this one is pretty embarrassing for Toyota, since the previous Tundra's naturally aspirated, dead simple 5.7-liter V8 was famous for going a million miles. And there was a lot of skepticism about Toyota going with a smaller and more complicated engine in the new one. Toyota even bought back a million-mile 2007 Tundra and did a full teardown on the engine, later claiming it applied what worked to developing the new V6. I guess they must have put their findings in two books and gotten them mixed up. You know, what to do and what not to do. Anyway, Ford actually had a similar recall on their new turbo V6s in a number of vehicles, including the F-150 and the Bronco. It was forced to replace over 90,000 2.7 and 3-liter EcoBoost engines. But still, recalls aren't an area where you want to be compared with Ford. Now, commonly, the least reliable of any vehicle is the first model year of a completely redesigned new generation. So while these engine failures are a big deal, it's not unforeseen. That's another reason why Toyotas are generally reliable. You pair incredibly long production runs with conservative product decisions, and you're in business. The second-gen Tundra was in production from 2007 to 2021, so any kinks with its V8 were worked out long ago. But when the march of time forces Toyota to ditch a key technology it's used for over a decade, or decades, mistakes get made. Toyota was the last company in America using 5-speed automatic transmissions, a 33-year run, until the new generation Tacoma pickup went on sale this year. And almost immediately, the new truck began having issues with the new 8-speed automatic and 6-speed manual, including total transmission failures under 1,000 miles. Toyota issued a TSB that blames some kind of actuator failure, and you might get a new transmission out of it, but it's not a recall. Yet. Regardless, that's 2 for 2 in major new components leading to big problems. But a lightly used Tacoma from the last generation isn't a much safer bet. In February, Toyota recalled 381,000 Tacomas from the 2022 and 2023 model years over a potentially serious rear axle issue. Once again, it was an assembly flaw, where debris from welding prevented key retaining nuts from being fully torqued down, which could lead to, quote, parts falling off. So, here's a theory. 2021 was the last year that the bulk of Tacomas were built at Toyota Motor Manufacturing Texas in San Antonio. Up until 2021, that plant was producing over 200,000 Tacomas a year. But for 2022 onward, it pivoted to focusing on the new Sequoia and Tundra, moving production of the old Tacoma to 2 facilities in Mexico. Those plants had already been building Tacomas for a few years, but now they were the sole suppliers. Not a stretch to think the pressure of that extra workload was a factor. Now, the new Tacoma is being built exclusively at those 2 Mexican plants. So I guess the truck that only exists because we can't import the Hilux is only available as an import.
Wow, what an incredible performance.
Today's video is brought to you by General Tire. If you're daily driving a light truck, SUV, or crossover, you need a tire that delivers in all seasons and weather. But if you don't want your teeth rattled out by the noise of chunky off-road tires, check out the General Grabber HT. It's built with DuraGen technology for solid strength and tread life, but runs quiet for commuting and road trips. Get superior traction on wet and snowy roads and low road noise with a set of Grabber HTs. Available now for a huge range of wheel sizes from 15s to 22s. Find more details and your local dealer at generaltire.com. The GR86 is the part Subaru baby Supra, and like all of Toyota's GR cars, it's designed to be thrown around corners. At least that's what they say. Its Subaru-built 4-cylinder boxer engine already had a reputation for oil starvation issues in the last generation, and problems quickly popped up again when the new models went on sale in 2021. The big problem, at least as cataloged by owners because Toyota has yet to address it publicly, is, what else? Another assembly error. It looks like the factory has been over-applying the RTV liquid gasket that seals the oil pan to the engine block. And dealerships are too if the pan needs to be dropped for some service. This created a lip of excess material inside the pan, which would eventually break off, get sucked into the oil pickup, and block the flow of oil. And independent testing showed that even when that wasn't happening in the new car, the FA24 engine was still seeing a big dip in oil pressure during sustained right turns. This is kind of crazy because if you go to any track day, you will find 2 things: Toyobarus and right-hand turns. Last year, we interviewed a software engineer named Brian Armstrong who took his car to Thunderhill Raceway in California with special sensors hooked up and recorded real-time pressure drops of more than 50% at times. This sort of thing feels like a massive oversight on something advertised as a track toy, though plenty of people argue over whether that is actually Toyota's fault or not. It's Subaru's engine, after all, using Toyota's D4S fuel injection system. But if we're talking about Toyota reliability, it's hard to ignore what can happen when they've been farming out their sports cars to other companies. Ironically, the BMW engine Supra seems to be the only GR car in America that isn't having issues. And like I said, Toyota and its dealers have made this whole GR86 issue a lot worse with its handling of warranty claims. Back in 2022, when sales had just begun and interest in the new version was fresh, an owner named Blake Alvarado had his engine fail during normal driving with only 13,000 miles on the car. His local dealer checked his social media, found pictures of him with the car at an open track day, and denied his warranty claim, saying it had been abused. It wasn't until automotive sites like us picked up the story and it became a PR nightmare that Toyota intervened and magically found him a new engine. But in 2023, another owner named Luke had his GR86 engine fail, this time during a track day. The dealer immediately denied his warranty claim, again saying he had abused the car. Luke then appealed to Toyota itself, who also said he was out of luck. The crazy part is, Luke recorded his track day. You watch it and tell me if you see anything remotely resembling abuse. Not to mention, Toyota literally offers a free track day with the purchase of a new GR86. Like clockwork, the media picked up the story, and a month later, Toyota caved and replaced his engine under warranty. These prominent failures, plus many others reported on forums and social media, plus Toyota's terrible handling of it, all make for a really dramatic story. One that ultimately isn't directly connected to the question of Toyota reliability, but it's absolutely fed into the image that things are going in the wrong direction. Also, while I'm sure they're trying to keep a lid on it, the fact that Toyota hasn't issued a recall or even a TSB for the GR86 is not helping. I guess they've never heard of the Streisand effect. You shouldn't have to create a media frenzy to get your car repaired, but people will keep doing it as long as Toyota stays silent. The silver lining, though, is that fixing the RTV problem yourself is a pretty straightforward job, and the aftermarket is coming forward with upgrades for the oiling system overall. So with that, you'd think Toyota would be extra vigilant about isolated problems that can snowball in a big way. But its reaction to a few GR Corollas mysteriously catching fire this year has not been encouraging. In one instance, owner Brian caught the whole catastrophe on video. He was driving down the highway, heard an odd noise from the engine bay, suddenly saw smoke, and managed to stop the car just before the whole thing went up in flames. When his insurance payout didn't cover the car's full value, he filed a claim with Toyota directly for the rest of it. And shocker, Toyota denied his claim, saying he had previously abused the car by driving over 85 miles per hour, which it turns out the GR Corolla's manual forbids unless it's fitted with, quote, high-speed capability tires, or as we like to call them, literally any tire made in the last 50 years. Taking it even further, Toyota cited data retrieved from the car's connected ECU that showed he had hit 114 miles an hour at some point during his ownership. Brian countered that his 23,000-mile hot hatch randomly began running rough 2 weeks before the incident, and also, tires can't possibly be to blame for an engine fire. Another GR Corolla owner, Sebastian, was on a trip to Arizona with less than 10,000 miles on his 2024 GR when it caught fire in the middle of nowhere. At first, he said he got notifications of electrical malfunctions through the Toyota Connect app, then his dash started to go haywire, then loss of power, then smoke, then fire. With no one nearby, the car completely burned down, and apparently this was during a gap in Sebastian's insurance, so he was out of luck there. Toyota denied his claim too, this time because it said the fire was so extensive that the cause just couldn't be determined. They say 1 is happenstance, 2 is a coincidence, and 3 is a trend. But to put these two incidents in perspective, the GR Corolla only sold a little over 5,000 units in 2023. That is a drop in the bucket compared to the 360,000 new Tundras and LXs that have been sold with that twin-turbo V6 I mentioned earlier. It's a much smaller sample size, but if my math is right, we just need another 9.1 GR Corolla engine fires before Toyota steps up. On the other hand, the G16 drivetrain has been around for several years already in the GR Yaris. And while both incidents reported holes in the engine block that could have led to oil spilling out onto the hot exhaust, the causes could also be completely different. But if this is a result of a failed casting, it would almost undoubtedly lead to a recall. Then again, the GR86 experience shows that Toyota is willing to ride it out with these lower production cars. Either way, Toyota would do well to get ahead of this. Or it's looking at another enthusiast special model dogged by reliability questions that a vocal minority of owners will gladly amplify. Because come on, you don't buy a Toyota performance car because it's the fastest or the most capable, you buy it because it's supposed to work. So if Toyota trucks and Toyota performance vehicles are all having issues, what about their regular cars? Toyota built a reputation for reliability on simplicity, and it seems like these new issues are all coming from new practices, new partners, and new components. But that trend continues with their normal cars, because a little over a month ago, Toyota issued a recall for 42,000 Corolla Cross hybrids. This recall involves one of the most critical components: brakes. Apparently there was a problem with the programming of the traction control for some models built between June 1st, 2022 and September 10th, 2024. The skid control ECU had the potential to fail during braking in a corner, resulting in a hard pedal and reduced braking performance as the power assist goes out. Not great! Thankfully, no accidents have been reported. It's easy enough to fix since it's just a software issue, and only 1 out of 4 Corolla Cross hybrids sold in the US is affected, but it's another mark in a growing tally. So, Toyota has had a lot of high-profile recalls and incidents in the last few years that have certainly changed some people's perceptions, but has it truly affected their reliability? While recalls aren't as strong an indicator as we'd like, they are at least well tracked. According to the NHTSA, Toyota has had over 80 separate recalls, which sounds bad until you look at literally everyone else. Yeah, Toyota's looking pretty good all of a sudden, especially when you consider that they are also outselling everyone but GM in the US. And at that kind of volume, the raw numbers of Toyotas with problems can feel really high, while in reality, Toyota still sells more perfectly reliable cars than every other major company. But if that's true, then why does it feel like you're seeing so many more Toyota issues now than ever before? The fact that all vehicles are more complicated today is a part of it, but not a massive part. Again, recalls aren't a definitive metric, but while the annual number across the industry is up since a decade ago, recalls actually peaked in 2016 and have steadily declined since, apart from a spike in 2020. I think the real answer is that Toyota is just more under a microscope than other companies. Toyotas of the past were reliable and dependable, but also unremarkable. Ever since its whole "no more boring cars" mandate, the spotlight has been on them. Toyota is the largest automaker in the world, but in America at least, it's also pretty much the only company left with hugely popular models in every segment. It's just an incredibly visible brand, and with that comes scrutiny. In 2024, J.D. Power's independent study into vehicle dependability still ranks Toyota near the top, second only to Lexus. Unfortunately, that doesn't say anything about the reliability of Toyotas that are coming out of factories today, but it's a strong indicator of where they still place their values. It seems to me that Toyota might be the A+ student that has slipped to being an A- student. Their new components aren't as tried and true, and their manufacturing quality control has suffered both at their new facilities and their partner facilities. But if that's the price that we have to pay for them to build things like the GR Corolla and the last mid-size truck with a manual transmission and not just build Priuses, I would take that trade. But you? Would you take more new and inventive Toyotas at the temporary cost of reliability? Or do you think they should stick to what they're good at, trends be damned? Let me know in the comments. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and as always, I'll see you in 2 weeks with another story. Thanks for watching.